This morning, I will present an equation to prove the virgin birth of Jesus Christ. No kidding. Come back at me if you disagree. I inadvertently discovered this equation watching a debate about the existence of God. During the Q&A after the debate, a young man, presumably a grad student in physics, asked this question of apologist Hugh Ross. How about an equation to prove the existence of God? Something like E equals mc squared. No kidding. He really asked that question. And I wondered to myself if Hugh Ross would ask the student for an equation to prove that he existed. Oh, that would have been fun. But Ross didn't go there. As Hugh Ross gave his brilliant answer, my mind drifted into a reverie where I was the one answering the student instead of Ross. And that reverie dialogue led to my virgin birth equation. Here's how it went down. I began by asking this question: what if mass energy didn't exist at all? Says I. I suppose nothing would exist, says he. Very good, says I. But would you agree that something does exist? I mean, the universe exists, you exist, I exist, and if we're just minds in a vat on Mars, well, that exists, says I. Yes, I agree. Something exists, says he. Do you think that the universe had a beginning? Asked I. Mathematics teaches that we can't have an infinite regress of time, says he, and the Bohr-Guth-Vilenkin theorem proves that the universe, and if there is a multiverse, must have had a beginning. So, yes, physics and mathematics strongly point to a universe with a beginning, says he. So I have a question. What existed before there was mass, before there was the universe, says I? Well, according to E equals mc squared, mass energy equivalence, there must have been energy, pure, unlimited energy, says he. Otherwise, there would be nothing. And from nothing, nothing comes. But clearly, something has come. You and me, a universe, says he. Very good, says I. Would you mind, for the sake of simplicity, if I called pure, unlimited energy without mass omnipotence? Well, he didn't like that because it was getting too close to God. But what could he say? I could have told him that Jesus taught us that God is a spirit, which means God doesn't have mass, no arms or eyes or even a brain. Infinite mind, to be sure, but no physical brain, except metaphorically. If God has no mass, then he must be pure, unlimited energy. Not has energy, is energy, and lots and lots and lots of it. And we theologians call lots and lots and lots of omnipotence. I continued. What if we could convert a walnut-sized object into pure energy, says I? We could blow up Hiroshima, says he. How much energy would it take to reverse Einstein's equation and convert all the energy it took to blow up Hiroshima back into the walnut? Asked I. The grad student in physics was well aware that science to date can't do anything more than make a few atoms in a billion-dollar collider using massive amounts of energy. So he responded, I suppose lots and lots and lots of energy, says he. And how about the universe, says I? It would take virtually unlimited energy, says he. That's right, says I. So what controls that energy without limit? I mean, who decides when and where and how to convert unlimited energy, that is omnipotence, to mass, that is the universe, says I. We don't know, says he. That's a mystery. And hopefully, you just wait, one day science will discover the answer, says he. It's really not a mystery, says I. Infinite energy can only be controlled by infinite power with an infinite mind and a personal will who decides when and where and how to convert unlimited energy, that is omnipotence, to mass, that is the universe, says I. Would it be okay if we just called infinite power with an infinite mind who has a will to decide and create? Would it be okay with you if for short we just called this God, says I. Again, he didn't like that. But what could he say? So he just shrugged his shoulders, and I continued. In the beginning, God converted his omnipotence, unlimited energy, into the mass of the universe. And doing so didn't reduce his energy because he's infinite, says I. Do the math. Anything subtracted from infinity is infinity, as long as the entity is finite. Now, our sun is finite. It will burn up, but not God, says I. The fact that God rested on the seventh day is not because he was tired or drained, but because he stopped creating mass and started sustaining mass. And that's why if God doesn't exist, nothing does. Nothing can, says I. And, says he. And that's what is meant by, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth by his word, by his omnipotence, says I. But what does this have to do with the virgin birth, says he. Good question, says I. And here's the answer. Or I should say, here's the equation that proves the virgin birth. No kidding. God created, listen up, because this is Christmas in a nutshell. God created a male chromosome out of his omnipotence, in the same way he created the universe out of his omnipotence, unlimited energy, which, when united with the chromosome of the chosen female, became a zygote in the womb of the one who would henceforth be known as the mother of the Savior of the world, says I. So, my dear friend, here is your equation. Einstein called his equation mass energy equivalence. We call this equation the incarnation of the Son, says God the Father.